thanks for joining us for our spooky special, Explore the Haunted UP Shore. I'm Mollie Hollebeke.
And I'm Eric Urban. You know, the UP is full of rich history, and sometimes that even means it's full of paranormal activity.
Yeah, and whether you believe in ghosts or not, you have to admit that some of these stories are interesting, to say the least. And that's why we went around to places all over the UP that are known for being haunted.
In this edition, we got some help from Calvin Lewis, Korinne Griffith, and Rebecca Bartelme of the Local 3 News team to explore the haunted UP Shore.
Yeah, and we also got some help from Upper Paranormal, who invited us on an all-night paranormal investigation of the Naima Inn. I was there too with Rebecca and the video crew, and it was something I will never forget. Check it out.
When we decided to do this haunted special, I thought it would be interesting to have a paranormal investigation team involved. I contacted Upper Paranormal and they were in. The team consists of sisters Kelly Carlson and Trish Kotz, who have been doing this together for 3.5 years. Upper Paranormal travels around the UP and on occasion to different parts of the country to investigate, but their favorite stop is the Naima Inn.
Every time we come here, we're not disappointed.
What we know about this place, it was part of the Badenoch Lumber Company. There was a hotel. It was for the people that would come in to buy lumber off the company or visiting employees. And some of the locals that worked for the company that didn't have a house. It was rebuilt after a fire in 1909. That's all we know about the history of the hotel, because there wasn't a whole lot of documentation.
Charlie and Lori McIntosh bought the inn in 2008, and what they know now, they didn't know back then.
I had a feeling walking up the door, but then we heard stories, lots of stories after we bought
Afterward, I was totally clueless. I had no clue until somebody told me. I said, yeah, right.
But then, Charlie had some of his very own experiences.
I went down the basement with a couple buckets of plumbing tools, put them down on the floor, and as soon as I put them on the floor, this most beautiful crystal clear lullaby singing comes out of the ceiling. Like I'm looking up in the basement at the rafters, and this singing is going on, and you can hear it. It's crystal clear, but it's almost a word, but not quite. And I just started walking towards it, and it's just like I ran out of real estate, and the music went away, the singing went away, and it was nothing else but a voice. You know, I know it was a real voice singing to me. My buddy Randy, they start looking for me after a while, and then my buddy Randy comes back and yells to Lori, he goes, "Hey, I found Charlie. He's over here in the back, and he's crying." I guess I had tears coming down my face. I didn't know it. I was kind of in shock, you know.
Charlie and Lori shared so many stories with us on their experiences, as well as others who have stayed at the Naima Inn. They, along with Upper Paranormal, say many spirits call this place their home.
They usually say that spirits, when someone passes away, they will go back to the place they were the happiest.
At the Naima Inn, there are two very well-known spirits, Charlie Good and Nell.
Everybody liked him. He was the president of Badenoch Lumber Company, and he liked the woods. He liked to be out in the woods with the guys.
She was a school teacher, and she also coached the boys' basketball team.
We have interacted with Charlie Good. He has answered questions for us. He's been around here since the early 1800s.
It was time to start getting ready for a night of investigating with Kelly and Trish, but first they gave us an idea of what to expect along with the equipment they use. Will someone be in here with us?
EVP recorders. They pick up sounds that aren't audible, I guess, to your own ears. We have things like IR cameras for taking video and pictures at night. Spirit boxes, they work off of radio frequencies, and supposedly spirits can communicate with you through that.
I also have an EMF detector. Electromagnetic field is what it tests. They say that in theory that is a spirit if it goes near it and it goes off. I do have a millimeter, which does basically the same thing, and mine also will tell me the temperature in a room. Boo Bear is a trigger object. Works for little children, asks questions, it will react to temperature changes, to being touched. I put that in the hallway once, and it said, Boo Bear said, "How old are you?" And I got a response, 23.
They also showed us some EVPs and video from their previous experiences at the Naima. Did you hear that? As Kelly is taking off her socks one night, someone is saying, "Don't take off your socks." Now it was time to start the investigation. After all of the equipment for the night was set up, we headed next door to what was the general store. We asked a series of questions to get a better understanding of how EVPs and the process works.
Have you seen that being on TV?
I even got a little too excited when I heard things that weren't exactly paranormal. From there, we went back to the inn. Mollie and I joined Trish for baseline readings. If the Mel meter was high, it meant there was some sort of energy in the room, and in room number 1 there was, so we did an EVP session. Do you know who we are?
Do you know who we are?
We did this with other rooms throughout the building. Our crew was even able to do EVP sessions on our own, and there was one that really stood out to us.
Is it okay that I'm in your room?
That's what came up on our camera, and this is what it sounded like on the EVP.
Is it okay that I'm in your room?
And after some EVP sessions, it was time to bring out Boo Bear.
When one lights up, it means it's a weak signal. If there is a child here, you're more than welcome to play with our bear.
After a few hours of sleep, we looked at some of the footage.
Did you see that?
And like Kelly and Trish said, you never leave the Naima Inn disappointed.
Now that was creepy.
Yeah, it was a really cool experience, but the best part was meeting Trish and Kelly from Upper Paranormal and the owners, Charlie and Lori. They were great people, and the Naima Inn's pizza is amazing.
When we come back, Korinne Griffith is going to take us to a different kind of an inn, the Old Orphanage in Marquette. Stay tuned.
The spooky season is here. Goodwill is Halloween headquarters, where you'll find everything Halloween in one stop. Use your imagination to put together a costume for a fraction of the cost. Costumes, decorations, supplies, and accessories. New and gently used at Goodwill. Howl with excitement. Great deals on everything Halloween. Bring your friends and family in to create your costume. Goodwill is a scream for Halloween costumes. Stop and shop today.
It's harvest time here at Riverside Escanaba.
Then why the shark hat?
We were going to do Shark Week and we changed our mind. But I like the hat.
The waters are churning with savings. Save up to $11,800 on Ram trucks.
How about the Sharks versus the Pilgrims?
Game on!
Now during Ram Power Days and the Jeep Celebration event, Jeep Renegade Latitude just $229 a month, Dodge Caravan $299 a month.
What's going on here? Sharks versus Pilgrims.
Lowering taxes, fighting corruption, reforming agencies, cutting red tape, holding both parties accountable for their actions. I'm changing Washington, but Washington hasn't changed me. I still live by the same honor code that helped me earn 3 stars in the Marines. And I vote according to the principles I learned as a small business owner and commercial pilot. You can trust this Marine General to fight for you. I'm Lieutenant General Jack Bergman, and I approve this message.
Kirkish Furniture, a family tradition in the Copper Country since 1913.
My grandfather was a very hard worker. He treated his customers first and foremost with respect, and those principles have carried on through our 3 generations following him.
We're a family business. You can usually come in and talk to George, myself, my sisters, my father. I get people who say my grandmother stopped here all the time. That's why I'm going to shop at Kirkish Furniture. And we've always taken care of them. It's nice to hear that. Offering a quality product at a right price and being there for them after the sale.
For decades, the Holy Family Orphanage in the city of Marquette has been rumored to harbor spirits. It was an old, abandoned, decrepit building, and it is now a state-of-the-art apartment complex.
Yeah, and the rumors of these hauntings still linger around, so Local 3's Korinne Griffith took a look at the history of the building and these assumed hauntings.
The Holy Family Orphanage in Marquette opened its doors in 1915. The building was impressive, set against the stark landscape of early Marquette, with bedrooms, classrooms, and a chapel to accommodate 240 children.
They needed a home for children that didn't have parents, and they opened it up in 1915. It cost $100,000 to build at that time. That in today's money would be about $2.5 million.
The orphanage was home to children in 2nd through 8th grade. Eventually, children of all ages were accepted. In the 1940s, the foster care system was created. From there, Holy Family Orphanage began housing less and less children.
And then by the early 60s, then the place was pretty well vacated in terms of children.
The orphanage was shut down in 1965. The building was then used as administrative offices until 1981. After its closure in 1981, the building sat vacant for decades. But some people say the voices of those who lived here in the past can still be heard to this day. Many stories have come out of the Holy Family Orphanage. Nuns beating children, sick kids dying in their beds, neglect that led to angry spirits lingering in the halls. Adults who grew up in the orphanage that are still alive today said their childhoods were good, but supposed stories from the early years paint a much darker picture.
It certainly is not the best place, but it doesn't replace a mom or a dad. Obviously, some children were not always that happy here.
In one story, a young girl went outside to play in the middle of a powerful blizzard. She caught pneumonia and died. As a lesson to the other children, the nuns displayed the dead girl's body for all to see. Another story is of an orphan boy beaten to death by a nun and quickly buried.
He said that he was so upset that he came back here and haunted the place day after day all the time. The neighbors could hear him haunting the place.
Though there have been unfortunate and confirmed deaths of orphans at Holy Family, there has only been speculation and stories passed down from generation to generation of the children still trapped in the Holy Family Orphanage.
Upper Peninsula is your home because there's nowhere else like it on Earth. Our traditions, homes, and properties are truly unique. When it comes to insuring them, there is only one company that truly understands their value: Northern Mutual Insurance. Northern Mutual Insurance was formed in Calumet over 125 years ago and is still insuring Upper families from bridge to bridge. Iron Range Agency in Ishpeming is a leading agent for Northern Mutual and has been for many years.
Northern Mutual is proud of their partnership with the Iron Range Agency.
Contact us today for a quote with Northern Mutual, a company that understands the UP.
I love Halloween because it's a time to just be fun, be someone who you're not.
Seeing the joy of the little kids' faces when they come and get candy at the door.
What's not to love about Halloween? Candy, costumes.
Definitely the weather.
Because it's a chance to scare people.
You can have fun trick-or-treating or going to parties or just hanging out with friends.
Weather, the atmosphere.
Where everyone gets out, has a good time.
I just love spooky season, yo. Spooky stuff. That's it.
This is the place I love. There's nowhere better than the place I'm from. I'm living local and I'm loving it. There's something special, something crazy good about this town. Yeah, this is where my world goes round. I've got my local on. Upper Michigan's where I belong. And it feels right. Yeah, it feels like home. I've got my local on.
The spooky season is here. Goodwill is Halloween headquarters, where you'll find everything Halloween in one stop. Use your imagination to put together a costume for a fraction of the cost. Costumes, decorations, supplies, and accessories. New and gently used at Goodwill. Howl with excitement. Great deals on everything Halloween. Bring your friends and family in to create your costume. Goodwill is a scream for Halloween costumes. Stop and shop today.
In the late 1950s, the Upper Peninsula was the stage for the Academy Award-winning courtroom drama Anatomy of a Murder.
Now, the Thunder Bay Inn was built specifically just for the filming of this movie. And Calvin Lewis and I heard it was haunted, so we had to go check it out for ourselves.
Situated in the tiny town of Big Bay is the Thunder Bay Inn. Originally an old warehouse, the building was turned into a hotel for guests in 1944 when it was owned by Henry Ford. Today, it's owned by Duke Peacock, who works as the inn's general manager and head chef at the inn's restaurant.
It's really neat to sit here every once in a while and kind of ponder the fact and just think of, you're literally standing in the same place that Henry Ford, Thomas Edison, and all these heavy hitters of the Industrial Revolution at that time in the United States. This is where they were. They all hung out on my porch and and stuff like that. And it's really neat to think of that. And then of course the film Anatomy of a Murder partially was filmed here. And all those people, Lee Remick and George C. Scott and Jimmy Stewart, and yada yada yada. It's just really neat. It's the same kind of premise.
Many guests have stayed at the Thunder Bay Inn throughout its 70-plus years of history, but with time comes legends and old tales.
One lady told me that she was staying here in the 70s, and she woke up to a person standing in front of her bed.
The inn's current owners take pride in keeping the rooms and hallways looking the same way they did back in the 40s to give it a special nostalgic feel. Rumor has it Henry Ford had a mistress who would stay at the inn just down the hall from his and Mrs. Ford's rooms. In fact, during our shoot, one of our very own had a spooky encounter.
All the letters of my name
are pushed down.
I'm next. She knew you were coming.
Many have stayed throughout the years, and only a few have walked away with a spooky tale. Even its current owner, Duke, had an experience of his own.
One particular night when I looked in, this cradle right here was slowly rocking back and forth, like this. And so I just kind of looked at it and said, okay, that's wonderful, and closed the door and continued to go upstairs.
But despite the ghost tales and experiences, nothing malicious has ever been reported at the inn. Just as its original owner intended, staying at the inn was a reason to get away from it all.
You come up here and you relax, you get away from all that, you enjoy the outdoors, you enjoy this beautiful scenery that we have as of right now. The seasons with all the colors is beautiful. Winter is awesome up here, summer is great, everything is great about Big Bay up here. So that's what I like to say about our hotel. We're unique in that way.
As for the rumors that the inn is haunted, well, you'll just have to stay here and find out for yourself.
Upper Peninsula is your home because there's nowhere else like it on Earth. Our traditions, homes, and properties are truly unique. When it comes to insuring them, there is only one company that truly understands their value: Northern Mutual Insurance. Northern Mutual Insurance was formed in Calumet over 125 years ago and is still insuring Upper families from bridge to bridge. Iron Range Agency in Ishpeming is a leading agent for Northern Mutual and has been for many years.
Northern Mutual is proud of their partnership with the Iron Range Agency.
Contact us today for a quote with Northern Mutual, a company that understands the UP.
To bag a big buck, you gotta be prepared. Sometimes we grunt. And sometimes we rattle. Watch this, Mike. Buck bomb on the heater trick.
Everyone seems to love Chevy Equinox. Get yours for $259 a month with no money down at Riverside Chevy.
Is that your truck? Yeah, I wonder who's driving it.
Water's leaking fast.
Shut it down!
New CBS Tonight.
Everything within 60 miles is in danger for radiation.
A nuclear meltdown threatens New York.
Did you sabotage the power plant?
But the search for answers.
It's revenge.
Unravels more questions.
Who are you?
From Dick Wolf, executive producer of Law & Order, comes one of the best new TV shows this season.
This new nuclear world, everyone's got a secret.
The new drama, FBI, CBS Tonight after NCIS.
Every color, every creed. Cancer does not discriminate. But as Attorney General, Bill Schuette sued to let insurance companies deny coverage for people with pre-existing conditions, like cancer. And Schuette said we should roll back Medicaid expansion, taking away affordable health coverage from up to 700,000 working people. When Bill Schuette attacks our health care, he's not working for Michigan.
Now, I don't know why, but lighthouses tend to be some of the scariest places. And living in the Great Lakes state, there's a lot of them.
True, and two of the lighthouses that are most well known for their ghosts are in Big Bay and Marquette, and I was lucky enough to explore them both. For the last 122 years, the Big Bay Point Lighthouse has stood tall on the edge of Lake Superior. Traditionally, the lighthouse was home to its keepers, as a lot of work goes into the upkeep of the building and, of course, the actual light or lens. Today, Big Bay Point still functions as an active lighthouse, but is also a 7-room bed and breakfast. Nick Korstad took the ownership of the historic lighthouse just this year and has already experienced firsthand the legends that refuse to leave Big Bay Point behind.
The old innkeepers, Jeff and Linda, had told me that the ghost stories here were fake, that they were all made up, and later to find out that they didn't want me to back out of purchasing the lighthouse. I had a couple days here by myself, and I was putting up a chandelier in our dining room, and all of a sudden I hear some pounding noises.
At first, Nick said he assumed it was some sort of pump or furnace, until
I heard someone walk right behind me, kind of examined my work on the chandelier, and then through the room and out the front door.
Many other guests have reported other things, the sound of parlor music, the smell of pipe tobacco, and have even heard footsteps in the hallways late at night.
I don't know who the spirit is. You know, the legend is that it's Will Pryor, our first lighthouse keeper, and it was, written that his son had passed away. He got very depressed and committed suicide, and I just don't think that's the truth to the story. I feel he haunts the place because he was known to be a very, very, very fastidious keeper, at which he fired every one of his assistants for being lazy. And at night they'd have to go outside. We have an oil house, collect the oil every 2.5 hours to maintain that lens. And I feel that he was ambushed by the people he had fired, drug out into the woods, and they're the ones that hung him in the tree. And so I feel his spirit is still not resting at this point, and it wants the story to be known that he was murdered.
43 miles down the Superior Shores, the Marquette Harbor Lighthouse has also seen many tragedies of its own, but among several reports of paranormal activity, there's one story in particular that stands out among the rest.
We've heard that there is a little girl that is a ghost in this lighthouse, and there are footprints outside the winch room that appeared one day in the 90s. There were 2 families living in the lighthouse at that point, 2 Coast Guard families. Neither of them had children, and there were no children known to be on Lighthouse Point. And that night the painters packed up their stuff, went home, came back the next morning, and in the hallway outside the winch room there were these little footprints going across the floor, and they sort of end where a window is.
Though this haunting is the only one that's left proof behind, plenty of people have had other experiences.
We've also had some volunteers in the past that have said that they've felt somebody tapping them on the shoulder, sometimes feeling a pinch here and there. So by this window here on the 2nd floor, there's another window up there. That's where people have felt a lot of activity or even seen activity.
You can believe it or not, but most say that a lighthouse is somewhere that you never really feel alone.
They say every lighthouse has a ghost, and if you're going to believe in the history, you got to believe that the history wants to keep on living.
Up next, the whole crew, we're going to take a ride up to a nationally known UP phenomenon, and we got to witness it firsthand.
To bag a big buck, you got to be prepared. Sometimes we grunt. And sometimes we rattle. Watch this, Mike. Buck bomb on the heater trick.
Arrive at Deer Camp in a new Silverado double cab 4x4, now just $299 a month at Riverside Chevy.
Is that your truck? Yeah, I wonder who's driving it.
Let the Restore be your first stop for new and gently used furniture, building supplies, appliances, and so much more. When you donate, shop, or volunteer, you are helping Habitat for Humanity improve your community. Restore proceeds go towards building or repairing homes and changing lives. Find your local Restore on Facebook and see all they have to offer. Shop your Restore in Marquette, Kingsford, Iron River, Calumet, or Manistee.
My name is on every ring that goes out of the store, and that's very important to me. Think about how many times she's going to look down at that diamond every day. What's it going to say about you? Picking quality stands for something, all right? No matter what your value range is, quality is number one. Think of it this way. If she tells her friends that she got her ring at Richardson Jewelers, that means she loves it.
A portion of this month's sales goes to cancer care.
Kirkish Furniture, a family tradition in the Copper Country since 1913.
My grandfather was a very hard worker. He treated his customers first and foremost with respect, and those principles have carried on through our 3 generations following him.
We're a family business. You can usually come in and talk to George, myself, my sisters, my father. I get people who say my grandmother stopped here all the time. That's why I'm going to shop at Kirkish Furniture. And we've always taken care of them. It's nice to hear that. Offering a quality product at a right price and being there for them after the sale.
Oh my God, walking down the hill.
Sam, what do you, have you ever been to the Paulding Light?
I've never been to the Paulding Light. This is my first time.
All right, Mollie, what's the deal with this?
Okay, so this used to be an old railroad, and the legend of the Paulding Light apparently is the inspector of one of the trains that would come through here. He would get out of his train with his lantern, and he'd have to inspect the train from the outside. Well, one day he got caught somehow in the tracks, and he got hit by a train.
I've always heard about the Paulding Light, but I've never actually visited the Paulding Light before.
Well, I heard about it from like one of those like debunking shows, so I was like, oh my gosh, I live there. I live around there.
Yeah, phantom train, some people say, and this old dude that used to watch the trains and with a lantern.
You sort of hear stories from, some of the locals, and then you kind of read some of the stories that have been done by maybe some of the, more national reports. Going into it, you kind of want to believe that, that it is sort of paranormal. But
it's going in and out, says that it's some type of like going through.
Paranormal or mysterious, or do you think that it's probably just like car lights or something like that?
I don't know, because I'm definitely one to believe more paranormal stuff. So I think it'd be cool if it was paranormal.
It's come on and off, flickering here and there. I don't know what to think.
Reports have been appearing since I think like the mid '60s, and no one knows what it is. I don't know what it is.
Oh my God! Oh my God! Oh my God! Whoa! It's moving this way. It does look like moving. Yeah, if you think about it, if somebody's running, it looks like somebody's running.
Yeah. Always goes out the same way. Like it looks like it's going around a bend. Like cars, headlights taking a bend.
Like it's just, there's just something else more to it. There's got to be something else.
That light does look like it's coming towards you, and it's kind of weird. So I'm kind of on the iffy side now. I don't know what to think.
I think it's kind of creepy. Really surprised about the entire thing itself. I feel like it's just a call maybe. I don't really know for sure.